Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm so excited for today's video. I've been planning this for a few weeks. Today I'm going to be sharing my top 10 neutral one and done eyeshadows. So these are my go-to absolute favorites when I just want one quick shadow. I want it to be neutral. I want it to go with everything, no matter what makeup I'm wearing. These will work. These are my top 10 currently. So I did do this video about 2 years ago. So I wanted to do an updated version. I applied them all to my eyes so you can see them. So I hope you enjoy this. And if you're new here, my name is Blair. I do all kinds of beauty content here on my channel. I would love for you to stick around and subscribe. But let's get into my top 10 favorite neutral one and done eyeshadows. All right, I did just want to say a lot of these, because they're neutrals, they do look very similar. So you may see some of them swatched or on my eyes and think, oh, those look similar to each other. Yes, they do. I know what I like, and I like very boring neutral eyeshadows when I want a one and done. So yes, you will see a lot of shades that look very similar to each other, but that is what I love. That's what I wear. And I know just from talking to a lot of you that you like neutrals as well. A lot of you like one and dones. So I thought this would be a helpful video and I hope you enjoy it. But let's get started with probably the most obvious choice to put in this video. This is one of my favorites, probably for at least 2 years now, probably more than that. I did mention these before, but I had to mention them again. The Armani eye tints. I have repurchased this eye tint. That's how much I love it. Anytime someone that makes beauty content repurchases a product, that's a big deal for us because, as you know, I have a lot of makeup. I try a lot of makeup. I very rarely repurchase things because I rarely use them up. And I rarely love them enough that I want to repurchase them. 18M is my absolute favorite, but I also love 22M. I did apply both of them to my eyes, so I'll play that here. I honestly think this formula is pretty universal. I think most people would really like this. These are a pretty creamy formula, but they do set down, but you have quite a bit of playtime with these. And they're very beginner friendly. So I would say anyone that has never applied a liquid or a cream eyeshadow before could use these. It's just easy. It's so quick. I can't tell you how often I reach for either 18M or 22M. If I want something very similar to my skin tone, just like a hair darker, I'll go for 18M. If I want a little bit more depth to my eyes, but I just want to use one shadow, I love 22M for that. But Armani, they have so many great matte shades. They do have metallics and shimmers as well. I like those too, but I do use my mattes more. And like I said, I think this is a really universal formula, especially if you have drier lids. I think you would really like this one just because they are that creamy texture. They're not drying. I don't think they would emphasize dryness or crepiness on the lids. I do have a more affordable option that I do think is somewhat similar to these that we'll get to in a little bit. One more thing I did want to mention about this formula is if you are someone with oilier eyelids, like I said, I do think you can use this product. However, I would say if you have very oily lids, I would recommend setting these with something, whether it's a little bit of setting powder, a little bit of a powder bronzer, or just a matte powder eyeshadow that's in a similar shade or tone. Just because I have noticed on myself, my lids are not excessively oily, but I do find they are a little bit oily by the end of the day. And if I don't set these, I do have a little bit of creasing. So I did just want to mention that. Honestly, I think creasing is a little bit inevitable with a cream or a liquid shadow, unless you just have extremely dry lids. I do think at the end of the day, majority of people are going to have a little bit of creasing. It's nothing crazy with these, but I did just want to mention that if you are someone with very oily lids, I would definitely recommend setting this formula so they'll last all day with more minimal creasing. Number 2, let's get into the affordable option that I mentioned a few minutes ago, and that is the new E.L.F Liquid Velvet Eyeshadows. If you've been around my channel for the last few months, you've heard me talk about these many times. I was impressed with these instantly. And honestly, I didn't have super high hopes because I do feel like we haven't had very many affordable liquid or cream shadows that are good. Just in general, across the market. I don't find a lot of affordable options that I love, but I will confidently say I love this formula from E.L.F. I think they did a phenomenal job with these. I have three. I have Beige and Boujee and Extra Toasted. I also have Cable Knit. You could also use this as a one and done. I don't typically go for this for one and done. I usually use one of these two. So I did, again, apply both of them on my eyes, one on each side so you could see. This formula is similar to Armani. It's not identical. This formula, I would say, is a little bit thicker than Armani. It's still creamy, but I would say it's slightly thicker. I would say the Armani formula is a little bit thinner, but they both have a very creamy texture, very easy to work with. You have quite a bit of playtime with both of these formulas. I would also say the same about these as I said about the Armanis. If you have oily lids, I do think it'd be best to set these with a little bit of something, whether it's powder, eyeshadow, whatever you have, just because of the texture, and especially with the E.L.F. one, just because they are, like I said, a little bit thicker. So if you have a lot of oils on your lids, I can see where these might crease and move around a little bit, similar to the Armani, but even more so with the E.L.F. just because they're a thicker texture. But I have to say, overall, I think these are phenomenal. They retail for $8 a piece, and I think E.L.F. did a great job. I've never tried a liquid or cream shadow from the drugstore that I liked anywhere close to as much as these. So if you're not wanting to spend a lot on the Armanis, or maybe you want to try a liquid or a cream shadow for the first time, you've never tried it, so you don't want to spend a ton, I would definitely look into these from E.L.F. They do at this time only make, I think, matte shades in the E.L.F. formula, whereas they do have the shimmer and the metallics in the Armani. You get about the same amount of product in each. The E.L.F. you get 0.15, and the Armani, I believe it's 0.13 fluid ounces, so just about the same, but the Armanis are significantly more. They are $39, which is quite a bit. So if you're not wanting to spend that, I think the E.L.F. is a phenomenal, affordable option. Number 3 is another newer find to me. You've heard me talk about this many times in my videos recently, but the Makeup by Mario Master Matte Cream Shadows, specifically for me in the shade Sandstone. This is kind of a similar type of shade to 18M or Beige and Boujee in the E.L.F. shadow. This is my skin tone, just slightly deeper and slightly warmer. So it doesn't do a whole lot in terms of adding color. You'll see in the demo, it just evens out my lids and adds just like a hair of something to my eyes. So I would definitely just use this on a very light makeup day, no makeup day, because it doesn't do a whole lot, but it does just enough for those types of makeup looks. This formula is very different from the Armani and the E.L.F. This is more of a moussey texture and a little bit kind of like a cream to powder texture. So they're moussey and just a little bit creamy initially, but then they dry to a powder. And once these dry, you cannot move them. You also don't have as much time to blend and work with these as you do with the E.L.F. and the Armani. So for these, I would say work quickly, do one eye at a time, and kind of know how you're wanting to apply it, how you want to blend it before you do, because you don't get a whole lot of time with these. But for that reason, I would say these, of all of the formulas I'm going to mention, these last the longest with the least amount of creasing. So if you have extremely oily eyelids, this one would probably be the best for you in terms of like keeping your shadow on all day. But they are not a hydrating formula, that's for sure. They're definitely more of a matte powdered finish. So you have to be okay with that. But if you're looking for extreme long wear, these are great. You don't get as much product with this one. You only get, I want to say it's 0.06 fluid ounces, and they are $25. So keep that in mind. You don't get as much product. In fact, as I was using this today and I was applying it, I was thinking, you know what? I think I'm almost out of this one because it just felt like I wasn't getting as much product on the wand as I typically do. But I gotta say, if you need a one and done to last all day, this will do that. I also have the shade Mauve, which is more of a, like, obviously mauve-y kind of rosy color. I like that one as well, but my most used for a one and done is absolutely Sandstone. Number 4 is another relatively new favorite. I've been testing it out for a few weeks, but it's new from Jones Road. This is the eyeshadow stick. They recently, probably like 2 months ago now, came out with a bunch of matte neutral shades, and this formula is so nice. But this is going to be for somebody who wants something quick, on the go, no fuss, like you can blend this with your finger type of product. My favorite shade is this one, which is Taupe. I love this shade because it's a little bit warm, but it's not so warm that it looks orange on my eyes, and it's not so cool that it looks gray. I have trouble finding shades like that that are neutral, like truly neutral. They have a little bit of warmth and a little bit of a cooler tone mixed, and I would say that about the shade Taupe. I love it so much, and it also, I don't know why, something in this color really makes my eyes pop. My eyes are green, so I don't know why. Every time I use this shade, I always think, oh, this makes my eyes look really green. I'm not sure why, but what I love most about this is this is the creamiest formula of anything that I'm sharing with you. It is incredibly creamy, so you can blend this with a brush. That's how I typically apply it, but I've also used this just with my finger, and they're so easy that you can literally just draw it on, take your finger, tap over it, and you're good to go. They blend that easily, but because they are that creamy texture, you definitely have to set these. These are even creamier than the Armani and the E.L.F. So if you want these to last all day, I definitely do think you need to set them. Otherwise, they will wear away a bit just because of that creamy texture. That's kind of the trade-off that you get with a formula like that. But somebody that is like not really a huge makeup person, that's who I would recommend this for. Somebody that just wants one quick, easy product, use your finger and be done. That's who I would recommend this for, and I'm so impressed with it. I don't use it on like a full makeup day. I use this when I just want to do something absolutely as quick as I can and move on with my day. So in here you get 0.05 fluid ounces for $32. So these are a bit on the pricey side for that amount of product, but I gotta say the formula is really impressive. All right, number 5 is actually another Jones Road product. I don't know that I've ever mentioned this in a video before, but I reach for this shadow all the time. And it's one of their single eyeshadows. These are just called the Best Eyeshadow. I bought this, I guess like 2 years ago now. I was in New York and I went to a Jones Road store, which I highly recommend if you happen to live near a Jones Road or you have one within driving distance. These are the cutest stores ever. Like the branding, the merchandising, everything. The way the store is set up. I think they did a phenomenal job with that brand in general. Anyway, I was in a store and I was swatching all their eyeshadows. I had never seen the products physically before, so I was in there for quite a while swatching everything, and I swatched this shadow in rose gold, and it just was the perfect metallic eyeshadow. Everything. It's a little bit rosy. It is called rose gold, but it's not extremely pink. It still is pretty neutral. Goes with everything. What I use this the most for is when I use an eyeshadow stick like the Jones Road stick. I will then take my finger and take just a little bit of this and tap it on top, and I love that. Unless I'm just going for all matte, then I'll just stick with the One and Done taupe color. But sometimes I do take this and tap a little bit of it on top of that. I also wear this on its own. But this color, there's just something about it. It's just not too pink. It's not too gold. It's not too silver. It's like that perfect sweet spot. And that's what I'm always looking for with shimmers or metallics when it comes to a One and Done. That's the kind of shade that I look for, and it's kind of hard to find. So when you find one, it's like finding a diamond in the rough. Now, what I will say about this formula from Jones Road is this is not a super innovative powder eyeshadow formula. It's honestly a little bit gritty feeling. It does not feel like a incredibly innovative 2026 eyeshadow formula. It feels kind of like an eyeshadow from like 5 years ago, and I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I kind of like that about it. Eyeshadow is just kind of eyeshadow. That's what this is, if that makes sense. But it's not a super thin or a super creamy formula. It honestly is a little bit gritty, but I love that about it. I will obviously insert swatches of everything here, but I just feel like this is a perfect, very neutral metallic that pretty much anybody that likes that type of shade would love. Number 6 are the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Silk eyeshadows. I tried these back when she launched these originally. I had a few of the shades. I think they were Phoebe and Irene. Those are the two I had initially. I didn't use those a ton because of the shades. I didn't love either of those shades. Phoebe was a little bit warm and Irene was a little bit too gray. It's like I wanted something a little bit more muted, a little bit more neutral. She released 4 new shades recently and I purchased 2 and I love these 2. I use both of them all the time as a One and Done, especially this one. This is Silvia. It is a perfect, I think they call it like a mushroom taupe color, and I guess that's how I would describe it too. It's not, again, it's very neutral. It's not incredibly gray or brown. It just kind of falls right in that sweet spot, which I love. But this formula from Lisa Eldridge, if you have more mature lids, a lot of crepiness, or your lids are not as smooth, this would be a great formula for you. There is something in this formula, and I forget the name of the technology, but there's something in this formula that makes it good for more mature lids, but they were formulated with that type of concern in mind. So if you do have more mature lids, I think you would love this formula. This is very thin, even thinner, I would say, than the E.L.F. and maybe even a little bit thinner than the Armani. Very easy to spread. So there's no tugging, there's no pulling with these. That's another reason why I think they would be great for someone with more mature skin and mature eyelids. And I will say these last all day. Sometimes I will have a tiny bit of creasing with these if I don't set them with a little bit of something. But honestly, for myself, that's true of everything. The only thing that doesn't really crease on me at all are the Mario ones. The reason for that though is because they're so matte and they really like dry down. But everything else, by the end of the day, I do typically have a little bit of creasing. Doesn't bother me, but I think that's just kind of inevitable unless you have extremely dry lids. Overall, I think this formula is beautiful. It's easy to work with, lasts all day, and if you are a lighter skin tone, or the 4 of her newer shades are very good for fair, light skin. Not too deep, not too much, not too intense, just kind of like your eyes, but just a little bit enhanced. That's how I would describe these colors. I also have Paige. Paige is a little bit lighter than Silvia and slightly more gray, but not too gray. I did apply both so you can see them, but I reach for these constantly now that she's released these new shades. All right, number 7 is an oldie, but a goodie. And it's Maybelline Expert Eyes in the shade Nude Glow. This is one that is a repeat from the original video. I still use this shadow. This is such a good hidden drugstore gem. I think you can get this for like $4. But this color, if you like these types of shades that I'm mentioning, not too warm, not too cool, very neutral, this one is so perfect and it's so affordable. I will say this one is not quite as sparkly as the Jones Road that I was just mentioning. This one is a much thinner feeling formula, more of a metallic. So you do get a little bit of sheen, but not like intense shimmer, if that makes sense. This one is more, you know how sometimes some shadows, you'll know if you've ever felt this formula. They're very thin. They don't feel gritty or chunky at all. They're very, very thin, and they don't give like that wet look. They just give more of a metallic sheen. Sometimes I will apply this over something if I want just a little bit of a sheen, but not something that looks wet. But often I will just take my finger and apply this all over, take a brush, kind of blend out the edges, and that's it. It's a great neutral metallic one and done that is very affordable. I have to credit, I believe it was Jessica Braun that I heard talk about this years ago, and I bought it and I've loved it ever since. The only thing is this shade is kind of hard to find. I think the last time I bought mine, I bought it from Walmart. I'll find it and link it for you below, but you may have trouble finding this specific shade, but find it, order it, go get it if you have to. It's worth it. What number are we on? 8? Yes, 8. These are very new, but these are so good. And several of you have asked me if I've tried these, and I tried to reply to you and tell you that I have, that they would be coming up in a video. These are new from MAC. These are called the Multisculpt Matte Liquid Cream Shadows. I'm not really sure what the exact name is, but they're the Multisculpt. These are so good, so incredibly good. Now, I know I've been talking about the consistency of the formula a lot on all of these shadows. This one is the thinnest of all the liquids that I've mentioned. So the E.L.F, the Armani, the Lisa Eldridge, the Makeup by Mario. This one is even thinner. It's absolutely the thinnest liquid shadow I've ever tried. When you blend this in, like, they dry and that's it. But what's interesting about these is they're so thin. I would say the same about the Makeup by Mario. Those are very matte and they dry down. Much thicker formula though. This one is so thin and it dries. It dries like a powder and they last all day. There is very, very, very minimal creasing with these. Even if I don't powder these last very well. Just as well as the Makeup by Mario's in my opinion. And these are also, I think, meant to be used on your face and on your lips as well. I have not done that. I've only used these on my eyes. So I can't comment on that, but like this shade Stone, a lot of people have been using this to contour, to line the lips. I haven't done it, like I said, but that's what these were intended for, is to kind of be used multi-purpose all over the face. I have the shade Omega and the shade Stone, and I will be buying a few more of these, I think, during the Sephora sale because I am so impressed with this formula. The other thing about these, more so than any of the others that I've mentioned, these are extremely buildable. So if you apply a thin layer of this and you want more intensity, they apply so beautifully on top of itself. You can apply more and more layers and get more and more intensity, but they still remain that thin formula that dries down. It's really incredible. These are very innovative, very different. I've never tried anything exactly like these, and I'm very impressed. So I highly recommend checking these out. They come in so many really beautiful neutral shades, and they're well-known MAC shades. So I think they have, like, I have Omega, I have Stone, there's Painterly, there's Cool Spice, Hodgepodge. There's more. I can't think of all of them, but there's tons of really pretty shades. Like I said, I'm gonna buy more. Very good, very, very innovative, impressive launch from MAC. Number 9, I have talked about this one before for sure, but it had to make it in this video because it's still one of the best, and it's the Dior Mono Couture Single Shadow in the shade Beige Mitzah. I feel like this is kind of one of those shades that if you're in the beauty world, you kind of know this one. This one is very unique from everything else that I'm mentioning. Number 1, this formula from Dior, top notch, 10 out of 10. Incredibly refined, and I don't want to say shimmery because that sounds bad, but you do get that metallic kind of glow from this, but it's very refined. It's not chunky. This is just a beautiful creamy powder formula. Now this shade does pull slightly more cool toned. However, I would say it does kind of depend on if you wear it alone or if you pair it with something underneath. If I put this on my bare lids, it looks pretty cool toned. If I wore this over, let's say Omega from MAC, it would pull slightly more neutral, warm leaning just because this is a little bit warmer. But I would say overall it leans neutral, slightly cool. But this shade is just good. It's been around for quite a while. I've been hearing about this for years on YouTube. Like, there on my hand, honestly, it looks pretty neutral. Now, mine is the old packaging and the old formula. I have not tried this since they have repackaged, reformulated. I did look it up and you can still get it. I don't know if it's exactly the same as this version that I have. I'm hoping that it is, but just want to put that out there. But Beige Mitzah, if you like neutral, slightly cooler, like taupe gray shades, you gotta have this one. And finally, this shadow has been around for years and years and years. It has not been a favorite for me for a super long time. I have kind of come to love this in the past like 6 months probably, and now it's one of my most used one and done shadows, and of course it's from MAC. It's the Deluxe Pearl eyeshadow in the shade All That Glitters. If you know anything about makeup, I feel like you've heard of All That Glitters from MAC. That's a very iconic eyeshadow shade, and as you can see, you can probably look at it and tell why I love it. Again, very neutral. Goes with everything. I love it. I love it. I can't believe, honestly, it's taken me this long to kind of appreciate this one, but it's just such a good classic metallic neutral shadow. So that is it there. You can see it does give you quite a bit of that wet sheen to it. Honestly, it reminds me a little bit of the Maybelline in Nude Glow, so I'll swatch them next to each other. I want to say Nude Glow is a little bit more cool, not in a big way, but a little bit. So this is Maybelline, this is MAC down here. So Maybelline has more shine, as you can see. It's a little bit more pinky, more like a rose gold, I guess. And then All That Glitters is a little bit warmer, slightly more neutral, a little bit more refined shimmer, not as reflective as Maybelline. But honestly, I love them both. I reach for them both regularly. I don't know, there's something about these little the single MAC eyeshadows in these tiny little components. I don't know what it is. I actually have 2 of these. I have one of the singles, and then I also have an All That Glitters in my MAC eyeshadow palette that I made myself a few years ago. It's a classic. If you like these kinds of shades that I've been sharing with you and you've never tried All That Glitters, highly recommend. One more thing I did want to mention in this video is the brush that I use to apply mainly liquid and cream shadows, because I get that question all the time. The brush I use the most is this one. This is a 206 from BK Beauty. Looks like this. It has pretty long bristles. It's rounded on the end. So what I like about this specifically is it is kind of like a flat shader style brush. So like a traditional eyeshadow brush that you see where you pack on a shadow, usually like metallic shades. But because it has longer bristles and it's a little bit fluffy on the end here, you can also use this to kind of buff out edges and really blend liquids and creams really well, which is why I love it. I'm constantly using this brush. I have tons of eyeshadow brushes, and this is the one that I'm always looking for. I only have 2, and I honestly need to buy a few more because I use this brush almost daily, because typically day to day, I love a one and done shadow. That's what I go for. Unless I'm doing my makeup for something, I will just throw on one single shadow on my eye. I do that like 9 times out of 10. So for that reason, I'm always looking for this specific brush. So if you were wondering, this is the one I'm always using when you see like B-roll of me applying just one shadow, liquid or cream. Most likely it's this brush. All right, those are my top 10 neutral one and done eyeshadows that I use the most. Hope you enjoyed this. This has been really fun to plan for the past few weeks. I'm not kidding. I've been on the hunt for the perfect neutral eyeshadows to include in this video. Things that are easy, quick, they go with everything, very no fuss. You can use your finger, just tap them on. use one brush, blend it a little bit, and you're good to go. I've been on the hunt for the perfect shadows to share. I love all 10 of these and I use them regularly, so I hope you enjoyed this. I will have everything that I talked about linked for you in the description box, and I will link as many as I can in YouTube shopping on the screen for you as well. If you do shop through my links, I do make a commission that supports my channel, so thank you so much for that. And if you're new, I would love for you to stick around and subscribe. We would love to have you here. And finally, if you're not already, I would love for you to follow me over on Instagram. It's at simply.blair, and TikTok simply.blair1 for short form content. If you're into that, I've been posting much more on both of those platforms, so make sure to follow me there as well. Thank you for being here. I will see you again very soon. Remember, simply be you.